figure out how to do this kind of ahead of time. The way I've got it set up now, I need to kind of do it in real time as I'm getting going here. But a lot of things that I've been thinking about lately have kind of brought me to what Sun Tzu brought up in The Art of War. You've heard it probably in many different versions. People saying they'd rather just rule over the ashes than not rule at all. But I think the root of it comes from this phrase or this saying, and an evil enemy will burn his own nation to the ground to rule over the ashes. And I hate to say it, but with some of the scorched earth policy, it's seems like, it feels like this is more and more the case. I see some comments in the chat, talking about Harris Walls and stuff, but you know, what do you do when the printing press doesn't stop? Someone brought up in an earlier live an interesting concept around modern economic theory, and I've looked into it a little bit. I actually need to look into it quite a bit more. It's, there's a sentiment in there that you can continue to print money and create money to kind of satisfy the needs of your nation. It kind of goes hand in hand with what they call modern monetary theory, and the role of taxes, government, kind of going about creating money. I don't know. I'm having a hard time reconciling those concepts because at a certain point, what is your currency worth? What is the value of it? What stands behind it? And there's an inherent level of trust required, not just by your population, but by the world in that currency. So what happens if that diminishes? Because this modern monetary theory, I can't see it working in other countries. They just can't pull this off. We can potentially pull this off for a finite period. Anyway, I need to look into it a little bit more. Because, the arguments of modern monetary theory that it seems like a lot of the Democrat Party is ascribing to now, a lot of the concepts in there are centered around, arguing that deficits are not inherently bad. They're necessary for economic growth. And I'm talking about government deficits. So you see GDP going, the debt hitting the same level as GDP, and you start to wonder what does that mean? But it's a divergent theory from managing the government like you would manage your household, right? There is no end to the level of debt that the economy can have because you can always print more money. This is at least my first take looking at it, and you hear about Keynesian economics, you hear about a lot of these other things, but this is the first time that I've seen something connect really kind of spot on with the policies and the observations that you can make by just listening to, Harris or Walls or some of the other candidates that are out there. The other aspect is that I'm still stuck on, honestly, is around taxation being a mechanism to combat inflation. I still haven't reconciled that one for me. That one's a little difficult for me to reconcile. I know the mainstream economics. I'm calling it mainstream because I haven't heard of this modern monetary theory before today. I'd say they would say just, the inflation risks and the negative impact of these huge deficits, it's going to weigh on an economy. You saw what happened in Greece 10, 15 years ago, or what have you. They had extreme debt, and it resulted with major shifts in quality of life for their pensioners and so forth. But this is what the Democrat Party is, putting out there. This is what they're standing behind. I don't know. What do you guys think here in the chat? Let's check this out. Republicans are the ones. Wait. Hold on. The GOP has always increased the deficit. Do your research, says James. So during Trump's tenure, I think he added about 6 trillion. Keep in mind, 2 of that was a consequence of COVID. Unfortunate event, but I think we can all agree that was necessary. We did not have a better solution, and it was more important to take some kind of action, however imperfect it was, than to take no action. And then you have Biden and Harris at this point, who have also racked up a similar amount in 3.5 years. I don't know. Where does that leave you? I appreciate you guys kind of contributing here to the dude, you need to read, says James Wayne. You too. I am reading on this modern economic theory. I mean, if you're up on it, like, help contribute to the discussion here. I mean, the principles behind it, I can't get my head around. You look at Argentina and their infinite printing, and the theory proposes that you can do that and you control inflation by increasing taxes. I can't reconcile that full thing in my head. The government increases money supply, they increase taxes, so the value of each dollar goes down, but you're attempting to control that devaluation by increasing taxes on your population. I don't know. The near-term effect seems to be a squeeze on your population. I don't see it. Nixon, Reagan, Bush, Trump. Add Obama in there too. You left that one out. Who's really in control though? That's a good question. Tax the rich like all modern countries. Okay. Seem a little upset with the folks that are doing good. I mean, the 1% do pay 40% of all taxes that are out there. Hot coffee, you sound so intelligent. Well, thank you, Hot Coffee. It's a new concept that kind of got presented to me today. I had not heard of the idea that hitting the printing press and exceeding or having very high debt levels for a country was actually a good idea or something that was part of a plan. I thought it was just people kicking the can down the road, honestly. So what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm thinking about it out loud here. I'm going to vote accordingly. I'm going to vote for the candidate that's not headed in this direction. That's what I'm doing about it. You're on the wrong side. Ooh, tough crowd tonight. Tough crowd. Republicans are the ones who spend. Google it. Just like Obama. Trump, next president. Price control is good. Old Buck says price control is good. Yeah, it's good until your grocery store goes bankrupt, right? Because if you tell the grocer that, hey, you can only sell eggs at, say, $3.50 a dozen, they can't push the price up any higher. All the parts of the supply chain that lead up to them, incur higher feed costs for the chicken, you name it. Wages go up for their employees, and they can't pass that cost on. What happens then? It's not a very difficult outcome to kind of come to there. Will life really significantly change between the two? I think so. So, I mean, if the tax cuts are not renewed, that'll be an impact. Middle class, upper middle is where the tax cut will really get felt. And that's the interesting part too, right? You look at the Democrat Party and they're focused on taxing the upper middle and middle class, not really the 1%. There's a lot of loopholes and exceptions for them still out there. They'll say a lot of things like the inheritance tax and so forth, but at the end of the day, nothing really gets put out there. But if you look at who's going to get hit the hardest, it's upper middle and middle. And what happens when they get pushed down, the disparity between the 1% and the rest of the population grows bigger. And it's because that bracket, I can't remember the number exactly, but there's about, I can't remember now. I can't remember if it was 60 or 99 million, but there's a significant portion of the population that fall into that bracket. And so who would you go after, your donors, or would you go after that bracket that doesn't have the same resources as your donors? Oh, hang on a second, guys. I got to change out my microphone here. Bear with me. Sorry for all the noise, if you're getting some noise here. Looked like the last one was running out of power. Taxes only increase on the top 2%. That's not you. Where'd you get top 2% from, Buck? You know, it's funny. Biden came into the 2020 election talking about increasing taxes on folks who made more than 200,000, and then he quickly backtracked and said, no, I mean 400,000. So is it 1%, 2%? I don't know. We got to get straight about that, because we're very quickly going to turn into 5%, 10%, 15%. It gets slightly better with Democrats, slightly worse under Republicans. So the tax cuts included doubling of the child tax credit. It included a massive increase in the standard deduction, which well exceeded the property tax that people would pay, and the interest on their homes, on their mortgages. It far exceeded that for the lion's share of Americans, especially those in the middle class. Those were huge reductions in taxes for people. You're going to take that away, and it's going to cause issues. A lot of people point to, you can only claim up to $10,000 on your property taxes, but in all honesty, the average property tax rate is just under 1%. I think it's like 0.84 or something like that around the country. You look at that average property tax, average home price. So it's it was just rounded up. Say it's 1%. I mean, that's $4,000. So $10,000 cap, you would literally have to have close to $1 million home in order to break that cap. And I mean, outside of California, the lion's share of the country is not in that boat when it comes to the middle class. Nan says, "Old Buck, if you don't like eating, price control is good." From Clinton, Bush, Obama's Harris, all followers of communism. Facts. We aren't Argentina. The world runs on U.S. dollars backed by the U.S. military, says Wash Park Horn. For how long are they going to leverage that as a reserve currency? Remember, everything's relative, right? The dollar looks strong against a basket of currencies right now, but it's starting to weaken. And it was weak in comparison to the euro and other things. But the level of uncertainty, level of kind of economic progress, all the factors kind of taken into consideration. Is this really going to make our country stronger? Is it going to instill confidence or inspire confidence in the world of how we're doing? For them to continue using us, I mean, what value is in it for them to use us as a reserve currency going forward? You have Saudi Arabia that's no longer solely trading oil or exchanging oil on the U.S. dollar. They'll do it in multiple denominations of currencies now. Is that a problem for us? I think so. We lose leverage in terms of national security negotiations with different countries, right? Especially those, high tension areas. Hey, Shannon, appreciate the gift. Thank you for that. But especially with those high tension areas, I mean, it's very problematic that you no longer have that point of leverage. And I'm talking about, countries like Iran, where they had the nuclear deal, right? But what leverage do you have left at this point if you're not able to affect the trade of oil and kind of compel them into, the behaviors that you want them to have? Man, I lost track of the comments here. A bunch blew past me. Having dinner with... All right. Jay, we can't talk about that kind of stuff. TikTok's a very friendly platform. So sorry, I gotta take that comment out. Democrats have been charged for 20 of the last 32 years. The reason we're in decay and sorrows. Hear me, boss, who knows that it's gonna be Trump. November will be close, but you think it's gonna be Kamala, says Larry. Trump won't be in again, says Larry. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the polls. I mean, there's polls that are kind of all over the spectrum at this point to me when I take a look at it. Some recent ones just came out today saying, oh, Trump will definitely win the Electoral College. Look at this data that we've got here. But I don't know the profiles of the individuals that they're looking at. I mean, everything was so mischaracterized in 2016 that how do they know they have it right this time? The sentiment of the populace and what they stand for and what, you know, what people really are interested in out there. Is it really going to be reflected this go around in the polled by the pollsters? Are they really going to understand the profile of the country that they need to identify in the focus groups that they have? I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in them being able to do that. Oh, okay. Lost the comments again. Hey, thanks for the likes. Red states will send $8 and get back 5. I'm not sure. User 48 quadrillion. Not sure what that's talking about. Who do I think will win personally? You know, I feel like it's a toss-up now. I can't tell if the current momentum we're seeing out there is real or if it's manufactured. You can read into that as much as you'd like, but I can't tell. And I'm talking about Kamala Harris's campaign. There was a 2023 article, I think it was in October-ish timeframe by The Atlantic, that said the Kamala Harris problem. I think it was something like that, the title. And they went on and on about how she's a drag on the Biden re-election campaign, how she had the lowest approval rating of any vice president. You know, it was pretty extensive about how she's a liability for the campaign and acknowledging the reasons that she was selected. And yet, you know, 8 months, 10 months later, all of a sudden, she's the second coming. I just, help me connect those dots, right? Everyone's just relieved that it's not Biden. Is that what's really going on here? I don't know. But help me connect those dots. U.S. is the largest producer of oil. Yeah, Wash Park, that is true. There's a little bit more to it, right? Our refineries are built to primarily deal with sour crude, which is what Saudi Arabia produces. It's higher in the sulfur content. You look at West Texas, Gulf of Mexico, and other areas, our crude is sweet, lower in sulfur content. So our refineries that are already configured and set up to process the higher sulfur content products cannot really convert overnight. I mean, there's a cost to that. So you end up buying on the open market and bringing in that crude from overseas, right? Even though we're shipping a bunch out as well, and we're producing at the highest levels we ever have been, thanks to, you know, a lot of ingenuity in the oil and gas sector. It's not creating true independence for us. I mean, the last refinery that was built was like in the 1970s, right? How do we kind of fix that equation? When I looked at Nate Silver's poll aggregation, Nate Silver says Pauline. I think it's Pauline. Apologize if I'm getting that wrong. I have not. Man, I'm like 50 comments behind here, guys. Who is this Nate Silver, though? Nate Silver. Was that the 538 guy? Let's see what my AI says about him. Yeah, 538. Yeah, I've looked at that. They didn't quite hit the mark a number of years ago either. But didn't 538 get purchased by ABC News also? So, I mean, it's not like they were operating as an independent any longer. Whoa, I just got 50 comments blew past me here. Sorry if I'm missing stuff, guys. Oop. Subsidies aren't red state problems, but blue city problems. Bit of a malfunction there. All right, came back online. Good to go. Shall not follow the Cheetos plan on the Cheetos plan, Tom. So 2025, nobody's into that. A lot of people have come out to say like there's nothing to do with what I'm focused on. If you want to know Trump's plan, he's got Agenda 47 on his website. You could go read up on that. They've got videos and stuff. Nobody goes into exhaustive details as to what their plan is, right? But they at least do talk foundationally about their principles, how they want to go about decision making, which is, the agencies that are within the government, how that's going to kind of unfold to an exact play-by-play on that. But at least there's some content there, because I can't find anything on Harris's website. She's got nothing. Hyperbolic language, says Lonnie. Thanks. So, I mean, it's just kind of like, it's increase all the way here, right? We're doing a good job increasing all the way with our viewership and likes, so I appreciate it, Lonnie. He wants to make our allies pay. It'll never work. Our allies pay for what? What are they going to pay for? Because I think sometimes y'all are mixing his statements that are not intended to be taken at face value, where he's joking, right? When there's certain commitments that NATO countries have agreed to meet and they're not meeting those agreements. So if you say contractually, like, hey, bring your resources to the table, like pay what you've agreed to pay. If you want to call that making the allies pay for stuff, so be it. Make the wealthy pay their fair share. So Precious, what is a fair share? I mean, what do you consider to be a fair share? Because a lot of people will say they'll, give up 90% of what you own. Does that seem fair? And then who sets the definition of rich at that point as well? I mean, that's where this stuff gets a little bit hazardous. Max, what's up? Man, I am so far behind on these comments. It's ridiculous. Trump for president, Agenda 47, Project 25 are both Heritage Foundation and Trump. Trump is lying to you. I'm just going on what's on his website, which is what he calls Agenda 47. That's what I'm going off of. Swifty says Taylor's version. On that note, I've listened to I feel like I can tell whenever it's a Taylor's version versus the original. There's just some quality difference in the voice. And I'm not saying she doesn't sound as good as she used to. There's just some of the songs, I don't know. You can hear the difference. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to be negative about it. I prefer the older ones. She's still going to win. At any cost. Price controls, right? Increasing taxes, handing out $25,000 a person for down payments. Of course, there's conditions on that. $35,000 on average for student loans, right? All of these. Who defines who gets it and who doesn't? Like, can I get a refund on my tuition that I paid for a long time ago? What do we do about folks that didn't go to college? Can they get some sort of a compensation out of it too? It worked for him in the 80s in New York. People need to open their eyes. He is trash, says Vicky. You worked directly for Trump in the 80s? That's interesting. We should probably go do some interviews if you got some firsthand experience on that. That'd be interesting to hear about. Vicky. Read Chomsky. I don't want to read Noam Chomsky. I've got other stuff I want to read. I don't know about that, Max. Let's see, we got a movie's going to come out about Trump. Okay, all right, Max. There's a priest who owns a $6 billion home using no taxes on churches. Think about that, says Swifty. Taylor's version. Oh, I thought somebody called you Taylor's version. Not that it was part of your name when I was looking at some of the stuff. All right. No taxes on churches, $6 billion home. Really? I mean, are you talking about the Vatican? Like, what are you talking about? Who has a $6 billion home? There's a priest. I mean, you must be talking about the Vatican because, I mean, the priests don't. That's not what they're all about. Requesting to come up. I'm just looking at comments right now, Max. I'm not really picking people up. I'm looking. Hey, No Way Patriot, I see you're coming up here. Oh, where'd it go? I lost your comment. Everything blew past me. I appreciate the finger heart, No Way Patriot. Joe, I've read it cover to cover. What do you want to discuss? Interesting. G. Talk like he wasn't already a president. Save America. Vote Harris. 47 is Trump. Not 2025. Daddy Nola. Hey, Nola, what's going on? Is Derek Carr going to come through for us? What do you think, man? I hope we have a decent season. I just want to make the playoffs. I mean, that'd be great. Let's see what else we got here. Trump increased your taxes. Says Michael. Trump increased your taxes. Okay. So if I go look at the tax brackets now versus what they were in 2016, you're telling me I should see my tax rate go higher. Interesting. Democrat inflation for 4 years. More or less, right? I mean, there's a decision point that they had, and they railroaded a lot of spending in there in the name of COVID and everything else. I mean, the economy was recovering. Jobs were opening back up. It was a decision to make, right? Do you want to spend another $2 trillion, or is there something else that we can do? Max, you got me worried as to what you would say if I brought you up here. Boss lady, thanks for the rose. Quote from Trump: vote for me, I'll fix it. You'll never have to vote again. Is that democracy? So, I mean, you're kind of putting words into his mouth in there, right? There's things that are contextual behind that, right? So I could say, hey, let me take on this problem, and once I resolve it, like, you guys aren't going to have to worry about it again, because it's going to work out so well that everybody's going to be happy. I mean, is there some context behind that, Larry? Your taxes are now higher unless you're upper class because of Trump tax plan. Really, Michael? Go to the IRS. This is the source. And you could look at a video that's on my page where somebody was kind of questioning this also. Go to the IRS website, look at the tax brackets now versus back then. 0 to 10,000 has no taxes on it. All the tax ranges have decreased. In addition to that, the standard deduction went up massively. So a lot of people didn't even have enough to itemize. Their standard deduction increased significantly. So if you look at, I mean, what's the standard deduction right now? I don't even know. Jeez, I should know this stuff. I should ask my accountant, but let me, hang on a second, putting the mic down. Gotta ask my AI real quick. What is the standard? I feel like it's like 24,000, but I could be off. Let's see. All right. What is the standard deduction? Married, filing jointly, 29,000. Holy cow, 29,000. All right, guys. So if you're a filer with an income of $50,000, you would subtract the standard deduction of 14,000, leaving you with a taxable income of 35,000. Well, that means 14.6, so 35.4. But that's if you're single, right? If you're married, you'd basically take 30 off of that 50 and you only pay taxes on that 20. That's massive. So they're effectively saying if you only make 30,000 a year, you're not taxed at all on your income from a federal standpoint. Tell me how that's not helping folks. I mean, that alone is massive, not to mention the doubling of the child tax credit. I mean, go down the list of stuff. That's crazy. No taxes, basically. Man, these comments, I'm 70 behind you guys, so I apologize. Oh, great, 70 just flipped right by me. I don't even know if I can find where I left off. I appreciate the engagement. I really do. Taxes are down. Yes, that's right, Dad Nola. If you said anything about Derek Carr, I apologize, I missed it. Do I make 100 million? Not today, but I hope to very soon. All right? Let's put it like that. And I hope you do too, Mike Hutchinson. Why before Trump? Sherry keeps saying no to handouts. That's all the Democrats want. There is a behavior aspect of it. That's right, C-Loss. You look at the current state of the economy and the level of inflation and the difficulty, varying income brackets have in sustaining their livelihoods, and it goes across the board. There's inherently a level of dependence that's developing and a level of reliance on the government, like price controls, like these other things, which are all very short-term in nature, but it's a continuing reliance. And so when you look at behaviors that you want to encourage, what are the actions that you can take as a government, aside from the individual, that if you don't want to prescribe the outcome for everybody, but you want everybody to have that equality and opportunity, and you don't want them to be fully reliant on the government or, reliant very heavily on the government, what do you do in those things? What are the actions you would take? I mean, I see one side that wants to continue to increase handouts and can increase, reliance and dependence on the government, and another side that's saying, hey, let's figure out a different way. Doesn't matter. People making 100 million will leave, and then it'll drop to 50 million. Not sure what you guys are referencing 100 million for. Yeah, no way, Patriot. Biden will exceed Trump's spending at the current rate. That's right. So, they're both about $6 trillion as of now. I don't know what the latest figures or projections are through the end of the year, but it's very much on track to exceed at this point. Doesn't anyone notice the big national chains are going out of business? AZ supports Trump Vance. Their supporters. Yeah, I know. Holy cow, just... Sorry, guys, if your stuff's getting filtered and it's not necessary for it, I'm missing stuff because the comments are blowing by too quick for me. Tax increases for the wealthy, yes. No nation won't burn, and the economy will be the strongest if we do tax the wealthy. So the first question I have, Laro, is who defines wealthy? Who gets to decide that? What if they set it at 100,000 a year of income? What happens then? Almost like socialist policies, yeah, pretty much. Who's going to pay for that? 25K. So, earlier in the day in a live stream, I had somebody talking about modern economic theory and modern monetary policy. Modern monetary theory. And there was a an acceptance, almost a, I don't know, I guess acceptance, we'll leave it at that. There's an acceptance that printing or creation of money or more spending on the government side was acceptable. That increasing debt levels are not a big deal. That can kind of unfold perpetually. It's more about, increasing taxes to reduce inflation and some other things that I just, honestly, even if you can draw up a model academically to make that work, I still don't see the, the behaviors that we founded the country on being encouraged through something like that. The other thoughts were just, hey, the government should be funding heavily a lot of the R&D that's happening out there. Look at the satellites and cell phones and all these other things that the government came up with. I don't know. I would like to think that I can build something on my own, that I can count on other people to do their part and not have to just rely on a centralized group of individuals to dictate everything. I mean, equalizing everybody, what do you get at that point? I think human nature has to come into play, and we have to acknowledge that the drive to compete and the drive to do more, the restlessness around that, that's something that's real and, that's been beneficial to society. 7.8 trillion deficit that Trump left. All right, let me get those numbers. All right. Can you tell me the government increase of each year since? Okay, so let's see. All right, in 2016, the national debt increased by 1.4 trillion. In 2017, Trump's first year in office, it increased by 0.7. 18, it was 1.3, then 1.2. And then, of course, the COVID year of 2020 was 4.2 because we had massive spending. So effectively, the first 3 years were 3.2. And then you got 4.2 for 7.4 total. But you can at least take 2 out of that 4.2 and attribute that directly to the stimulus that was done at the time, right? So about 5-ish. Now you look at 2021 was 2.8, 1.4, so we're already at 3.2, 4.2 there, and then 2.9, okay, so 6.1, and as of August, the debt has increased by, so we're already at 7 as of August. Yeah, and so forecasts are continuing to push that higher. So they may become equivalent at the end of the day. They may increase a little bit more, but if you look at the trends and trajectories, the 4.2 during 2020, you have to take into account the massive stimulus that had to happen for, keeping us going during COVID. Oh man, I just had 50 comments blow past me. Sorry guys, I'm missing all this stuff. If you're voting A or B, you're not getting it. Both sides are part of the bad movie. Yeah, but it's like, you want to watch a movie that's like 10% rotten or 80% rotten. I mean, I don't know. Dave says she will demo America, and then all the comments just flew by me. That just went right past me real quick. I appreciate the likes and the comments, folks. Kamala will be the next president, doesn't matter what I think, says Larry. I'd like to think that talking about it and thinking through it with folks will make a difference. Because, I mean, some folks are continuing to say that taxes were increased on the poor and they were decreased on the rich by Trump, which is absolutely not true. And it doesn't take much to verify that. Just go to the IRS's website and look at the tax brackets and look at the tax credits and the standard deductions that are in place now versus what was in place in 2016. That's all you got to do to double check that, to verify it. And you'll see that there was a lot done that helps lower income folks. Yeah, user 38 trillion, appreciate you sharing it live. Whoa, stuff just blew past me again. Copy paste, say something else at least. Well, Swifty, a lot of people just kind of transition into the live and they make similar comments that have already been made. So just to kind of acknowledge and answer what they're talking about. I mean, that's it, right? So if you want to talk about something different, the 20 plus illegal immigrants in the country, right? It's not so much of a matter of outright voting. It's more around the census that it becomes problematic, because when you take the census, it wants to know the number of persons in a given county, state, all of that. And that's a determination for how many members of Congress you're given for your states, which directly then correlates to the number of electoral votes that your state has. And I think that there's, if those counts, that people have done estimates on this, there's about 18 electoral votes that have shifted from red to blue because of that in these states. So even a state like California that was heavy blue already, if their population goes up because of the census reporting, they can get yet more power. So that's where it becomes problematic, right? And so, Swifty, I hope that's a new topic for you that satisfies your request. Birds really think Trump's got 2 jabs and a booster, like he said. Oh, missed it. Man, I thought you were talking about boxing for a second there. 2 jabs. It's getting late. I need to get to bed probably soon. But 2 jabs. Thinking about boxing already. What is a 25K down payment? So before the Democrat convention, Kamala Harris came out on the Friday before and made a broadcast at a campaign rally. Some of the points about her economic plan. I don't know if it was a plan. She just made a few points that she stood for economically, or actions that she would take. She called it price gouging. You dig into a little bit and it very quickly becomes price caps. Right, it'll hurt the grocery stores, right? The retailer, not realtor. She talked about a 44.6% capital gains tax, 25% unrealized gains tax, which is just like unprecedented. I mean, it's crazy. Her top financial advisor, for her campaign, went on CNBC and he was just roasted by the host on that show. And I say that because it's CNBC. There's a pretty good blend of liberal and conservative hosts on that program in the mornings. So, I mean, they were all just absolutely floored at the idea of unrealized gains tax. The 25K down payment was then just an extension of that, where she says, I'm going to build 3 million new homes, and for first in generation home buyers, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but if no one in your family's ever owned a home before, we'll give you a $25,000 credit for purchasing a home. I did have a realtor from Florida on my live earlier that kind of said, it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. It's not a outright credit. It's actually a loan that's given that has to be paid back at some point in the future. And so if you buy a house for $250,000, you've effectively taken a loan out for $275,000. Just the way that it all kind of works out, as she was indicating. There's nothing to be learned from the second kick of a mule. I do like the quote. I don't think it applies, but it's a very good quote. Trump is ushering in the CBDC. He's not. He said he would fire Gary Gensler on his first day in office. He's very pro-crypto. He's anti-CBDC. I'm not sure where you're getting that from. Oops. I read follow the money and then it disappeared. She brings hope. Trump brings something else. What did they say? Did she say hope and joy? Is that what she brings? Hope and joy? I mean, Obama ran on hope and change, and I think that was an effective message for him at the time. But hope and joy, is that what she said? Something to that effect, I think. My son's in the Navy for 8 years now. You know a bit. Vote Trump. Yep. I agree, Chris. Silver lining. Chris is telling one of our folks here that they're confused. They may not have realized it, so they may need your help. Yep, Chris Kringle, that's right. She's for the CBDC. I mean, it's actually something that's being researched or kind of put into motion right now by the Biden-Harris administration. So I mean, it's not like something that's far off. It's something they're looking at doing right now, right? At least she's offering something. What has Trump offered other than taxation? Well, Apple user, how many zeros are you out there? Apple user, 298 million. Trump is not offering taxation. He's offering tax cuts, in addition to extending the current ones that are in place. Hope and joy sound right, says I swear it was that, right? That's the biggest joke I've ever heard. Yeah. No one said joy. Hope for them. No, Kamala herself spoke about hope and joy. So the correction was that she's not just offering hope, she's also offering joy. So, enjoy. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing the live, Ronton. I'm just going to say Ron. Oh, boy. Man, how long have we been going here? Let me just double check. 50 minutes. Holy cow, getting a flurry of likes. I appreciate that. Vinny, love the quote. I do too. I think everybody should read Art of War. I mean, it's maybe the most, I'll say, unbiased and just like cutting through human nature bit of text that you'll ever look at, and you can apply it to a large number of interactions, right? Social interactions. It's not just about war. I mean, that's the part of it, right? On subtle and smaller levels, it applies in many different ways, right? Willie says Kamala's VP lied about so many things. It's absurd. You know, his own brother is become very outspoken against him. Trump's $25 cereal should tell you. What? Trump's 20... Swifty, that got blocked. I put it back on there for you. Trump's $25 cereal. Are you saying that he had a cereal that he was selling himself, or that he caused inflation to drive the price of cereal up? I'm not familiar with either of those scenarios. Social media gave everyone power. Now they are keyboard warriors. I agree. That's true. Unfortunate, but true. He has too many small groups in his pocket. Yeah, I know, Chris. Is it Christina Gentry? I'm not sure. I was gonna go with Chris, so I don't mispronounce it. But yeah, I don't know what that $25 cereal is about. Only people talking about Trump cereals are liberals. Maybe because they bought it. I don't know. All right, Chris. Yeah, appreciate the likes and folks sharing live. Trump made a cereal that's $25. Look it up. All right, I'm going to have to ask my little AI buddy here real quick. Is there a cereal? Oh, wow. It said no. Sorry, elections are super complex. Okay, so this AI didn't want to talk about it. Let's try AI number 2. Okay. Hey, buddy. Can you tell me if Trump is selling a breakfast cereal? Let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Yes, Donald Trump is. It's called MAGA Crunch. Okay. Oh boy. Symbolizing themes like border security and a taste of freedom in every bite. Oh my gosh, this can't get any better. It's priced at $24.99 with claims of supporting a strong breakfast economy and embodying the American spirit. Okay, I don't know. I'm not buying it, but it's very humorous. I mean, did he do that just for fun? I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. That's hysterical. It's being sold on Amazon. Wow. Thoughts on the economic plan and overlap between her and Bill Clinton's, aka America's best economy? I don't know. The overlap I see right now is the irrational exuberance in the markets and the high valuations of tech stocks, just as they were happening. Happened twice. The couple of crashes, one in '98 and the other one was at the end of 2000. So I'm seeing direct correlations there. Yeah, but at the end of it, a lot of this is short-term thinking, and it's actually not just Harris that does this. It's a lot of our politicians do short-term thinking. Even though they look to be in elected office forever, their decisions and whatever it is they support or vote for is really geared around the election cycle, and so that inherently results in a lot of short-term thinking. So it's kind of like they complain about Wall Street not having long plans. These companies not having very long plans. They're looking from one quarter to the next. This is the take some folks have, right? The CEO is just looking to kind of make a buck and then move on to another company. It's not the case for all companies, but you do definitely see that in a number of instances, right? But politicians definitely are very short-sighted in these things. And so actions like the ones that we see up there, price controls, abrupt tax increases, coupling that with, more spending, like the 25,000 of down payments, 35,000 on average being given back for student loan debt relief. All of that stuff is going to have an impact. It may not be immediate, but it will cause repercussions down the line. Because now we're in a situation where, hey, let's be honest, prices are not going to go down. Maybe marginally, maybe a little bit for things that are, that hit different ups and downs in cycles. Like maybe orange juice will go up and down a little bit, eggs and stuff too, but we're not going to revisit the price structure that we were in overall back in 2016, 17, 18, that's gone at this point. When they talk about inflation going down, it's not really prices going down, or it's not that at all. They're just telling you that how quickly prices go up, it's not going up as quickly. So rate of inflation going down is just prices are going up just a little more slowly. That's the disconnect, right? And they can point to these macro numbers like the CPI and GDP and what the stock market level's at, but you gotta drill into some of that stuff a little bit, right? Look at numbers that matter and that kind of tell you how people are doing individually, not how big banks are doing or how big investment funds are doing or how the aggregate economy is doing, but that aggregate outcome, what was the cost internally for the different parts of the country, but different parts of the economy? What did it take to reach that point, right? The upper middle and middle class are getting squeezed big time. That's the bottom line. That's the target audience that Democrats are taking from to redistribute. They're not really hitting that 1%. Those are their donors. And I'm not suggesting that we all jump in and get that, but they're not really delivering on what's been advertised. They're kind of putting a ceiling on folks, even having a hope of kind of moving higher, making it more difficult once you reach certain ranges of income, to kind of almost like put you back in your place to a degree, right? Right? Uh-oh. Oh, okay, good. My stream on other platforms kind of went out for a second. But Willie says, yep, inflation was pretty high here recently. I appreciate the follow, Purple. Is that how our cities are starting to look already? It's sad, right? I mean, the tent cities that are going up, why is that, right? No one's addressing it. Gavin Newsom and a lot of people were saying for a period of time that it's going to take only $20 billion to end homelessness across the country. And what was the surplus that California had just a couple of years ago after COVID, which a lot of it was federal dollars that went to them? Their surplus was $20 billion. And so he said, I'm going to dedicate it towards the homeless situation. And where did it go? It's unaccounted for at this point. They can't follow that paper trail. No one's being held accountable for it. What do you do from there? And yeah, so I mean, our cities, unfortunately, are not doing that great. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night here in a minute. I appreciate everyone commenting in, appreciate the gifts and the likes and sharing of it, of the live. I'll just close with, we got to think of ways to kind of agree and find common ground, because I don't think it's out of line to start with things aren't working. We should all be able to agree on that. Things aren't working. Share your personal experience. We don't hear that as much. We just hear people saying, look at the stock market, look at GDP, all these numbers that at the end of the day are not representative of how they're doing. There's a nature, I've found in sports at least, of people wanting to be a part of the winning team, to be on that bandwagon, right? You saw it with the Bulls in the 90s. You saw it with Brady and Patriots and then the Bucks. I know it's a sports analogy, but a lot of people jump on that bandwagon. That bandwagon experience is also persisting in politics, right? People jump on that bandwagon of who they're going to vote for. I wrote about this in college as I was starting to enter into, politics, which, by the way, I was part of the Green Party back then, amazingly enough, but that's another story. But, when I would ask some folks that I knew, who did you vote for? I said Bill Clinton. And when I asked them why, they said it's because I knew he would win. And so there's these perspectives and these mindsets that we need to kind of get over and just start back with the common ground of things aren't working right now. And then share your personal experience as to why that is. That's what I want to try and move towards eventually. It's fun sometimes to kind of just go around and, tease and, poke at different things. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think we can all at least acknowledge that things are not as they should be. And then you have to think about who is contributing to that and who is contributing to changing that. And then move in that direction with your vote. All right, y'all. I'm out. Have a good night.